You knew it. You knew what to do.
Of course I know what to do. Everyone knows what to do. All right. Welcome to the Awesome Announcements. I'm Miss Gianna.
And I'm Mr. Matt. And today we're talking a little bit more about our offering project.
We've been collecting offering to help our partner church in Bolivia. And today we're playing a game to see how much you remember. I get to ask some questions and you guys give me the right answer.
What? Wait a second. Why do you always get to ask the questions?
Because you're better at guessing.
Okay, that is true. I do love games and I always win. Oh, but can they play too?
Yes, they can.
Yes!
So if you guys can get the right answer, see if you can, you'll have a 50-50 chance each time. The first one is easy. Which flag is Bolivia's flag?
You know, I know this. I know this one. It's the one with the green.
Good job! Yes. But that one was like really easy.
It's true.
I'm gonna make it a little harder.
Okay.
Our partner church is called Punto de Gracia. True or false?
Oh, I don't know. Every time you do this, I can't get it right. I think it's true.
True!
Oh, yes!
One of our partner churches is named Punto de Gracia. And your last question is, one of the things our offering can buy is school supplies for kids who can't afford it. True or false?
This one I know. It is true.
Good job!
Yes!
Our offering is helping the Quechua villages in lots of ways, but one of them is school supplies.
So make sure you give your offering in right now. And we'll let you know how much we earn later in September.
And our last announcement is about loaves and fishes. Our store will be next week, so make sure you guys have your dollars ready when you come to Children's Ministries, and you can buy things to help others around the world.
That's right. So thank you guys for listening today. We love spending time with you, and we'll see you next time.
Bye!
Hi friends, we're so glad you're here. My name is Catalina.
And I'm Josh.
What are you playing with, Josh? Don't you think you should put that away? We're trying to introduce our story.
I know, but this little guy has me completely busy. This is my sister's virtual pet, and she asked me to take care of her while she's on holidays. I have to feed it and play with it. I even have to clean up after it, if you know what I mean.
You have to clean up after a virtual pet?
Oh, yes. Otherwise, it'll get sick. They're very busy little creatures. I haven't had any time for anything. I didn't even eat breakfast this morning because I was too busy taking care of Bolt here.
Okay, it's great that you're helping your sister out, but who's taking care of you?
Well, maybe you could.
That's a great idea. What do you need?
Well, the aforementioned breakfast, and I need someone to drive me to the mall later, and can you pick up some groceries? How good of a cook are you? Oh, and there's a huge pile of laundry now. I haven't been able to get to that. Do you think you could go to work for me? That's kind of getting in the way.
Whoa, wait a second. That's a lot of things that you need me to help you with. I'm not sure that taking care of a virtual pet for someone should interrupt so much of your life.
Well, this little guy and I have a lot of needs.
You sure do, but at least you have given us a great way to introduce our story.
I have?
Yes, we've been talking about how God has a plan, and today we will meet someone who had some needs that God met through a whole bunch of circumstances.
Well, that sounds interesting.
Do you think you could take a break from the pet while we check out our story?
Yes. Oh, this is a great time. Bolt is sleeping.
In the days when God used judges to lead Israel, famine was widespread across the land. There was hardly any food to eat, nor water to drink. People were starving, and many families decided to move away in hope of a better life. One such family was that of a man named Elimelech, who took his wife Naomi and their 2 sons to the land of Moab. They were certain that they could make a better life there, and were excited with the prospect of starting a new chapter. Once they got there, tragedy struck. The father of the family, Elimelech, died. His 2 sons took Moabite wives named Ruth and Orpah and lived there for 10 years. Then more disaster struck when they also died. This was devastating. Who was going to provide for them or protect them? Naomi, Ruth, and Orpah were left to fend for themselves. Naomi decided to go back to Israel, to the land she knew so well, to the people she understood, a language she knew, and a community who would accept her in her grief. She wanted her daughters, Ruth and Orpah, to stay in their land and start new families, but Ruth resisted. "No, I will go wherever you go. I want to be part of your people. I want to worship your God as well." So Ruth and Naomi began their journey to the land of Israel. After a long journey, they arrived in Bethlehem, Naomi's hometown. The entire town came out to welcome her back. They were so surprised to see Naomi after more than 10 years, but they were also struck by how old and sad she seemed. "Naomi, is that you?" they asked with excitement. But Naomi did not share their excitement. "Call me bitter, not Naomi. I have had a bitter experience," she said. Naomi and Ruth had arrived at harvest time, and the people were busy gathering grain. Naomi and Ruth had no sons or husbands or wealth. They desperately needed food. Naomi was too old to gather grain, so Ruth happily went out to see what she could find. She ended up gathering the leftover scraps in a field that belonged to a man named Boaz. This man was very rich and famous, and everyone knew of his noble character. He was kind to everyone, and he loved God. As Ruth gathered grain, everyone seemed to notice her. After all, she was from a different culture. She had different clothes and a different language. Boaz saw how hard she worked. He asked one of his managers, "Who is this girl who has been reaping in my field?" "Ah, that's Ruth, the daughter-in-law of Naomi," he replied. So Boaz was very kind to Ruth and made sure that everyone respected her and let her gather all the grain she needed. In fact, he even let her eat with his servants. When Ruth came home after a hard day's work, she told Naomi all about the kind man named Boaz and how he took special interest in her. Naomi remembered that Boaz was a relative to her dead husband, Elimelech. Now, it was tradition in those days for the closest relative of the family to help in time of need. Naomi saw this as a great opportunity for Boaz to be the family rescuer, or kinsman redeemer, as they called it. She told Ruth that she must continue gleaning from his field. After all, he had been so kind, why go anywhere else? Day after day, Ruth gathered in his fields. Boaz offered her protection, food, and kindness. Day after day, they grew to enjoy being near one another. Naomi was hoping this would happen. Boaz admired Ruth. Ruth admired Boaz. So Naomi came up with a plan. She told Ruth, "Late at night, I want you to go and wake up Boaz. It's time for you to let him know that you want him to marry you. You want his protection, his security, and his love." And that's exactly what Ruth did. Late one night, she came to Boaz as he slept outdoors on the threshing floor. "I am Ruth, your servant. Please protect me." And Boaz did. But there was just one problem. There was another relative of Elimelech that was closer in relation than Boaz. It was technically his responsibility to care for Naomi and Ruth and provide for her a son. So Boaz, being the gentleman that he was, had a town meeting and invited the man. He presented the opportunity to him, and to Boaz's delight, the man refused. Finally, Ruth and Boaz could get married. Soon, they had a baby boy, bringing great joy to both of them and to Naomi, who got to help raise him. Naomi, the old woman who had experienced so much sorrow, was now filled with new vibrancy and joy. This son would not only become the grandfather of Israel's great King David, but Jesus would be one of his descendants.
I love that when Naomi was left with just her daughters in a foreign land, God took care of her by giving Ruth, who loved her enough to stay with her.
Yes, and then when Ruth and Naomi needed food, God gave them food through Boaz.
And then when Naomi and Ruth needed a place to live, God gave Ruth a husband who would take care for them. Boaz was called their kinsman redeemer.
God cares for all of our needs, no matter how big or small. Ruth's story was part of God's bigger plan. Ruth and Boaz had a son, Obed, and he became the grandfather of King David. And do you know who else came from that family line? That's right, Jesus.
And that means that God didn't just take care of Ruth and Naomi, but it was through Ruth and Boaz that God took care of the whole world. This is a very big plan. Like Boaz was Ruth's kinsman redeemer, Jesus is our kinsman redeemer.
We don't always know what God is up to, but we can trust that He is always up to something good, and that His plans will involve caring for us. God loves us so much.
Sometimes we think we have to do all the work to take care of things, but God shows us over and over that He is the one doing the work. In our Bible verse for this month, He told the Israelites that it's not their job to fight, but His. Let's stand up and say it together. The Lord will fight for you. Just be still. Exodus 14:14.
Great job, friends. You know this verse very well. You can take a seat. Isn't it so great to know that God cares for us and His big plans include each and every one of us? That's what our bottom line talks about today. Let's say it together. You can repeat after me. God has a plan and He cares for me. Ready? Let's say it again. God has a plan and He cares for me.
It's a lot of work caring for someone. I should know. I've been taking care of this virtual pet for 3 days, and I'm exhausted. Does God ever get tired of taking care of us?
Nope, He doesn't. God never sleeps. He doesn't need to.
Well, that's great news. I didn't sleep last night because of little Bolt here, and I think I'm about to fall right over. Maybe God could take the night shift?
Oh, my friend, if you're lacking that much sleep from this critter, I'll take him for a bit so you can take a nap. Oh, wow. Josh, you were very tired. Friends, I think Josh just fell asleep standing up. Thanks for joining us. See you next time. And let's be real quiet for Josh. Bye.
A priceless treasure. God knows me, God hears me, God is my comfort. I am His and there's nothing better. Forgiven and chosen forever. I am a treasure. I am a priceless treasure. God knows me, God hears me, God is my comfort. Child of God, I know that I am loved. He hears me when I pray. He always makes a way. I am His and He is mine. I am the prize He came to find. I am a priceless treasure. God knows me, God hears me, God is my comfort. I am His and there's nothing better. Forgiven and chosen forever. I am a treasure. I am a child of God. I know that I am loved. He hears me when I pray. He always makes a way. I am His and He is mine. And I am the prize He came to find. I am a priceless word. God knows me, God hears me, God is my comfort. I am His, and there's nothing better for